Have you ever wondered how some authors just seem to write their books effortlessly? They talk about the joy of writing their book, and yet you're sitting there pulling your hair out and can't get word one out. Well, the key may just be in achieving flow state while you're writing. And that's what this episode's going to be all about. I'm going to be sharing some slides this time to talk a little bit about what flow state is and how you can achieve it while writing your client attracting book.
Are you an entrepreneur, small business owner, or consultant looking to boost your authority, influence, and impact? The Author Switch podcast with best-selling, award-winning author Carma Spence is your answer. Tune in for actionable advice, powerful strategies, and engaging interviews to turn on your author switch and take your business to the next dimension.
The Author Switch.
Hello, and welcome to the Author Switch podcast. I am your host, Carma Spence, and I help executive coaches, business leaders, and consultants write, publish, and market their client attracting book. In this episode of the Author Switch podcast, I'm going to be talking about flow state, what it is, and how you can achieve it while writing your client attracting book. Basically, I want to help you achieve the flow state so you can get peak productivity while writing your book. So, what is flow state? When you're in flow state, your mind is 100% engaged. You are so focused that nothing can distract you from your task. And you have no room for thoughts, distractions, tasks, desires, worries, anything that is not the task at hand. You are so totally engaged that everything else fades into the background. Now, if you have ADD, you know exactly how this feels because sometimes you get there without meaning to. At least that's what's happened to me. But anyway, being in flow state is a highly enjoyable experience and can even make the most difficult jobs pleasant experiences. When you concentrate all your thoughts on the work at hand, you can achieve extraordinary things. To enter flow state, you must do three things. You must work on a task that requires you to stretch yourself. So, this is not a mundane task. You must tap into your gifts and abilities, which means you're not doing a task that is not in your zone of genius. And you must fully apply your mind to what's in front of you. In other words, you're not paying attention to everything else, you're just paying attention to the task at hand. Now, as you enter flow state, I've found at least that third one becomes easier. It almost automatically happens. But the first two are usually conscious decisions. This is why we tend to lose track of time when we're in flow state because we're so focused in the moment and on the thing that time just it ceases to exist. When you're in flow state, you're stretched to your voluntary limit to achieve something truly worthwhile. And your client attracting book is truly worthwhile, is it not? Because with that book, you are going to help transform the lives of your potential clients. First, by them reading the book and achieving the solution that you talk about in your book. And then because they are so inspired to work with you, they hire you and you transform their lives in an even bigger way. And it all starts with that client attracting book. So that is truly worthwhile. So before I go into how to achieve the flow state, we're going to have this quick commercial break.
In a city filled with stories, one author seeks the elusive, the transformative, the right idea. It's not just any idea, it's the one that will change everything. Through twists and turns, through doubts and revelations, the discovery that will elevate the book to the next level. It all starts with an idea by Carma Spence, available now on Amazon.
Hello, and welcome back to the Author Switch podcast. I am your host, Carma Spence, and I help executive coaches, business leaders, consultants, and entrepreneurs write, publish, and market their client attracting books so they can grow their business. So now let's go into how do you enter flow state? It's a multi-step process. So step 1, choose a challenging task. This is probably the most important thing because if you're doing a mundane task, you're going to find it very challenging to get into flow state because your mind isn't fully engaged with a mundane task. So, when choosing your task or your goal, ask yourself these questions. 1, what is my most important task right now? 2, what one thing would make everything else in my life easier? 3, what would make the most difference for me personally or professionally? And the fourth question, what will move the needle most for my business? If you want to enter flow state, don't try to do everything. You want to focus on one thing. So now we move on to step number 2. Set clear goals on what you're trying to achieve. That means you must set a time limit for yourself and then choose what you're going to accomplish during that time. Many people use the Pomodoro method. I find the Pomodoro method a little distracting. So I usually have a broader space of time. Like I want to do it between now and the time that Star Trek starts, half an hour from now. Yes, I am a geek. But you can also set a timer. Choose the amount of time that you think would be the best suited for the task at hand. It may be 15 minutes, it may be half an hour, it may be an hour. Now, just as a caveat, getting into flow state, especially when you're first starting to do this, may take longer. So you might want to set the hour first. But once your body is used to it and you've built triggers, which I'll be talking about in a moment, it will become easier to get into flow state, and you literally will be able to do it in a 15-minute span. So here are things you do not want to be doing when you're trying to get into flow state. You do not want to work on email, number 1, that's a mundane task. And number 2, because of how one interacts with email, it is way too distracting. Do not respond to text messages. If you need to turn off your phone, turn off your phone. Do not get engaged in conversations on Slack or Skype or Messenger or Voxer or all those things. Do not do that. You are focused on an important task, writing your book. So don't do those other things. And don't let anything keep you from achieving your goal. Focus, 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 focus. Do one thing and only one thing during your period of intense concentration. It is too hard to concentrate on multiple things. When you're multitasking, you are not concentrating. And if you are concentrating, it's not intense concentration. So, one thing, focus on one thing. It is important to give yourself enough time to get into flow state, which I mentioned a moment ago, because it can take time to get into that state. Once you're used to it, you can, like, literally snap your fingers and bam, you're there. But most of the time, it takes you a little it's kinda like being an albatross, you know? You gotta flap your wings a while of it, and then all of a sudden you're graceful. But at first, you're kinda big and ungainly. So step 3, cut out all distractions. No gaming, no messaging, no social mediaing, none of that stuff. So here are some techniques you can try to help eliminate distractions. If you're hungry, go get something to eat before you do this. Finish eating. Do not eat while you're trying to be in flow state because that is a second thing to concentrate on. So you want to get into flow state, you're hungry, stop, eat something. Then when you're done eating, then try to get into flow state. You can put your phone on silent or even airplane mode. For example, right now, I believe I put my phone on silent just in case it goes beep or rings or any of that kind of stuff. You want to close your email as well as any of the chat programs you have open, like Slack or Skype or Discord or whatever you use, Facebook Messenger. It doesn't matter. Turn them all off. Turn them all off. Close all unnecessary tabs on your browser. Because even if you're not going to those tabs, the fact that they are open not only takes up memory on your computer, it takes brain space too. And close your door or put on some headphones. This will help keep out ambient noise. If you do all these steps and still find yourself getting distracted, you may need to take even more extreme measures. And I get it. Sometimes we are just distractible. And sometimes you may try to go into flow state and realize now is not the time. I've got too much on my mind. But here are some other things you can do. You may need to actively block social media sites, like using a blocking software because it's becoming too distracting. You may need to put on some focus music. Brain.fm has great focus music and can be very helpful for blocking out background noise. Your goal is to clear anything and everything that might distract you from the task. And that also includes brain space. Like, you don't wanna go into flow state right after you've had an argument with someone because you're gonna be replaying that argument in your head. You don't wanna try and go into flow state after getting really bad news. You're just not gonna be able to do it because your emotions are gonna take over your mind, and you're not gonna be able to get into that flow state. Step number 4, I know I'm repeating myself. Eliminate multitasking. Do not multitasking. You are focusing on one thing, writing your book. One thing, writing your book. One thing, writing your book. You must become so immersed in one thing, writing your book, that all other things fade away. And step number 5, you want to strengthen your concentration over time because this will become a habit, a skill set. Actually, it becomes a skill that you must build. And so you're going to need to do the things you need to do in order to build your concentration. One of the primary ways to ensure that you have good concentration is to get enough sleep. If you need an extra jolt of concentration during the day, you can drink a cup of coffee or tea or a soda for a short time before you seek to enter flow state. Because of the caffeine, it can actually improve concentration, but you don't want to overdo it. Step 6, monitor your emotional state. At times, your emotional state will determine whether or not you can enter flow state. And I did mention that earlier. So you want to monitor it. If you're not in the right emotional space for flow state, then don't try it. Those are the 6 steps you need in order to create flow. And one thing that will help you get into the flow state on a regular basis over time is to create a flow state ritual. The ritual is a trigger. It's an indicator to your body and your brain that something important is about to happen, AKA flow state for writing your book. Flow state for writing your book. And the more you perform this ritual over time, the easier it will become to get into flow state, which is why you want to create an easy flow state initiating ritual that you can repeat over and over again and memorize. So here's an example of a flow state ritual. Take 10 deep cleansing breaths. That tells your body something important is about to happen. Then you get up and you close your door, you close your email, you turn your phone onto airplane mode, you mute all notifications on chat applications, you put your headphones on and turn on brain.fm, and you begin to work on your book. Notice that was not an elaborate ritual. But it was a step-by-step ritual that said, "Okay, I'm doing these little things because I'm about to do a big thing." Each time you want to enter flow state, follow the exact same series of steps. So this is why it's important that it be simple and easy to remember, and you wanna follow it in the same order every time. Another ritual you could create is, I close my door, I light a vanilla scented candle, and I sit at my desk and turn off all my tabs. 4 things. 4 things, easy to remember. Just make sure you always have the vanilla scented candle and a match. That's probably the hardest part of that ritual. Anyway, do something that works for you. You don't want to wait for flow to come to you. If you wait for it to come to you, it won't. Basically, flow state is your working with your muse. Your muse almost never says, "Hey, is it time to write your client attracting book?" No. Usually, your muse is sitting there waiting for you to show up, and then you show up, and then your muse goes, "Okay, let's get to work." Now, everybody's muse is different. Maybe you do have a flow state muse who like grabs you by the lapel and says, "Sit your butt down and go." Not everybody's like that. In general, you don't want to wait for flows to come to you. You want to go to it. And that's what I've got. That is what flow state is and how you can achieve it. I hope you found today's episode of the Author Switch podcast helpful. My name is Carma Spence, and I'm saying ciao for now. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Author Switch podcast. If you enjoyed today's show and want to support its mission, here's how to help. First, give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. Your engagement helps my channel grow and reach more aspiring and established authors. Your ratings and reviews are invaluable. They help me reach more listeners and continue delivering top-notch content. To catch up on past episodes, including those no longer available on podcast platforms, visit authorswitch.com/episodes. There, you can choose to watch or listen to your favorite episodes at your convenience. If you'd like to show additional support, consider dropping a tip in the tip jar at buymeacoffee.com/Carma Spence. Your contributions help keep the podcast running and are greatly appreciated. Thank you for being a part of the Author Switch community. Until next time, keep writing.